Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. This is Shyam K here, taking up the Hindu news analysis for 10th August 2026. Now, before I start, please do let me know that I'm audible and visible for all of you. Those present in the session, please confirm. Done. Thanks a lot. Let's start. So, in today's session, I've taken only 12 articles for the discussion. These articles have been taken mainly from the daily edition of Hindu newspaper. In addition to that, I've taken articles, two from Indian Express and two from the PIB, in order to make the discussion comprehensive and help you answer the questions in the prelims as well as mains examination. If you're liking the initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start, here is a very important announcement. All those who are preparing for the civil services exams 2027 and 2028, here is an offer for you. The Unacademy IAS courses now will be available to you at the lowest ever prices of 16,999. You heard it right, 16,999. Once you enroll, you become eligible for double the subscription, but use the code IAS English, and 80 of these particular subscribers will be lucky winners who will get the 100% refund. Once you enroll, you will get access to even the Indian Express on digital edition for 2 years. So those interested in enrolling, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. And please do not miss out using the code IAS English to unlock all these particular benefits. Now, let's start. First important article. And before I start, here is a very important point. Those who are watching today, right, they will open the newspaper and they will see in the editorial page, there is an article on, right, the agreement between the three countries, right? That is basically Turkey and the Pakistan and the Saudi Arabia. Yesterday, we have covered the discussion, right? The Mecca agreement, it has been covered in yesterday's session. There is one article on student protest. I'm pretty sure you've heard of it, sufficient to write even an essay in the exams now. There is an article on power of, right, Xi Jinping to address corruption. That is not relevant for UPSC. There is a full page article, right? The full page article on delimitation exercise, which I'm pretty sure you've already read a lot about it. So I'm leaving those particular articles because I don't want to keep on repeating the same thing. Now, the article that I'm taking up for the discussion, first one, unconditional cash transfers, right? The important points. What are the important points? First and foremost, let's start with the basics. One is the concept of conditional transfers. I'm using the term transfers. You can also use the term subsidies. Conditional transfers and unconditional transfers. What is the basic idea? Let's say the government of India will provide subsidies. Now, when the government will provide subsidies to you, if there is a condition regarding your behavior, that is, you are supposed to meet these particular conditions, only then the subsidy will be provided to you. Otherwise, subsidies will not be provided to you. If this kind of a condition is imposed, then basically this is called as a conditional subsidy. And there is an unconditional subsidy. The government will provide the subsidies but do not impose any kind of condition. What is the basic difference between that? Let me explain using an example. Conditional subsidy, there is an initiative of Government of India that is associated with pregnant and lactating women. Pregnant and lactating women. Now, the Government of India simply says, I will give you the subsidy amount. I will provide you the support. But the condition here is, you will have to have institutional delivery. And once the child is born, you will have to get the registration of the birth done. Right? So these kind of conditions are imposed when the subsidies are transferred. And in addition to this, unconditional, best example from the current affairs, PM Kisan Initiative, Pradhana Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Under the PM Kisan Initiative, the Government of India will provide annually 6,000 worth of income support to the farmers. But please understand, there is no condition imposed by the government here. The government doesn't impose a condition on the farmer that you will have to cultivate on so and so amount of land, or the condition such as you will have to cultivate this kind of a crop only, etc. So the government will provide income support of 6,000 rupees in three installments of 2,000 rupees each, but without imposing any kind of condition regarding the behavior or the performance of the beneficiary. And please understand the difference between conditional and unconditional against the concept of targeted beneficiaries or targeted subsidies. In case of targeted subsidies, the government first will target who is eligible to become a beneficiary. Is it okay? The government will first identify who is the right beneficiary, right? And then transfer the subsidies into their account or provide the goods or services at subsidized prices. So there is a fundamental difference between conditional, unconditional, as well as targeted subsidies. Now, what is the article all about? The article is discussing the cost that is associated with unconditional cash transfer initiatives of the central government as well as the state governments. Because in the recent times, there has been a lot of discussion regarding the kind of subsidies that are announced by the governments, especially when the elections are around the corner. And a lot of times, the subsidies might be targeting the beneficiaries, but a lot of times these are unconditional in nature. And the problem is very simple. When the government will provide unconditional cash transfers, on one side, no doubt, the beneficiaries will get certain support in the form of income. They will get certain amount of money from the government, because I'm talking about unconditional cash transfers here. So the beneficiaries will get cash. And what is the benefit of getting cash? Assuming these are the beneficiaries such as women from the households, the women beneficiaries now will use the cash to purchase food grains, will purchase, let's say, certain medicines, will purchase, right, let's say something associated with consumption of the household. So on one side, it will provide certain purchasing power. It will provide certain purchasing power to the households. No doubt, it has its own benefits. But at the same point of time, if the government will introduce, which has been done multiple times by multiple states as of now, and keep on providing the unconditional cash transfers, it will put a fiscal burden on the finances of the states. It will basically put a lot of burden on the finances of the states. And please remember this. Just like the central government, the states also have very limited amount of money. Center has to spend a lot of money, it will collect money. And generally, there is a deficit in the finances of the central government. In the same way, there is a deficit in the finances of the state government as well. So, in a nutshell, there is an opportunity cost always involved here. There is always an opportunity cost. That is because the state is announcing, let's say, a particular unconditional cash transfer. It will be counted as a part of expenditure of the state government, and generally these are classified as revenue expenditures. On the other hand, the government now doesn't have sufficient money to develop, let's say, infrastructure. It cannot afford to spend money on, let's say, other types of hospital infrastructure, school infrastructure, etc., etc., which is also needed. There is an infrastructure needed for growth. There is infrastructure needed for development. Because you are providing unconditional cash transfers like this, there is a burden on the other expenses. In addition to this, there is one more very important complexity you need to understand. Just like the central government, for the state governments as well, there are certain compulsory expenditures. There are certain expenditures that the states will have to incur, right? What is this expenditure I'm talking about? These expenses, there is no option for the state. For example, the state government paying salaries to the employees. The state government, right? These are called as tied expenditure or committed expenditures. The state government, right, let's say repaying loans that they have taken in the past. The state government paying interest on the loans that they have taken in the past, etc., etc. So there are a lot of committed expenditures. And according to various estimates, it has been seen that the committed expenditures for many of the states is on a very high level. Now, on one side, committed expenses are high, and on the other side, there is already a deficit in the finances of the state. And third, the government is announcing lot of unconditional cash transfers, and the problem is many of the times these are announced just before the elections. Hence, these can be classified as classical revenue subsidies, or right, let's say fiscally profligate subsidies. As a sum of all of these, as a result of all of this, now the states do not have sufficient expenses to bear on the infrastructure needed for growth and development. This is basically what has been provided in the form of information in the article. Same has been mentioned in the earlier economic survey as well as 16th Finance Commission. And whenever you're talking about this, like I said earlier, all of these are classified under revenue accounts of the budget. And because your revenue expenses shoot upwards, right, the revenue deficit will also be incurred, which means now you're borrowing not for creation of assets. I repeat, you're borrowing from the market not for the creation of assets, rather for consumption purposes. This is basically against the market mantra, that is golden rule. The golden rule in the market says whenever you borrow, borrow for creation of assets, not for consumption purposes. A lot of us violate it, just like the government at the center as well as the state. So these are important points. The important data points in addition to this, like I said earlier, the women are getting access to these cash transfers, and they're using this to purchase food, expenses on health, expenses on education for these purposes, which is good. And in addition to this, the article also says there are a lot of barriers for the beneficiaries to get access to these kind of subsidy benefits. There are barriers. What kind of barriers? For example, the state government will announce a scheme but impose conditions such as getting documents A, B, C, D, E. For example, the recent Delhi government which has announced a scheme, it says you will have to get a recommendation letter. I hope you understand. In order to become eligible and get the subsidy, that is unconditional cash transfer, you will have to get a recommendation letter from the MP or MLA. So don't you think lot of people who do not have any kind of a connection, who do not know even who is the the sitting MP or MLA, now they'll find it very difficult to get access to this particular letter. In addition to that, lot of documentation is required. So these kind of barriers are still present for the beneficiaries to get access to the subsidy benefits announced by the center or the state government. Right? So these are important points. And those who are wondering, sir, why does government even provide these kind of cash transfers? Is there a benefit? Definitely, yes, please understand. Like we have discussed more on the negative aspects of the cash transfers, there is always a positive aspect to the story as well. For example, under National Food Security Act, the beneficiaries are provided 5 kgs of free food grains. Correct? 5 kgs of free food grains, and this will continue till 2028. But under the NFSA, there is a provision which basically states that the cash-based transfers under the PDS can also be implemented. That is, instead of giving you 5 kgs of food grains, what if I transfer 5 kgs worth of money into your account? That is, whatever subsidy burden falls on the government, that subsidy burden I will transfer into your account instead of giving you 5 kgs of free food grains. That is an initiative. That also has certain positive, right, let's say, aspects to it. For example, what if this month I do not want to get these 5 kgs of food grains? I want to purchase edible oil. I want to purchase, right, let's say certain pulses. I want to purchase other food grains which are not given under the NFSA. That kind of, let's say, problem is associated with NFSA. The government, by providing you subsidies of 5 kgs, can ensure you can purchase other goods and services that are not provided under NFSA. So obviously there is a positive aspect, there is a negative aspect associated with all of this. Done? Now, based on this, here is an MCQ. Please solve the question and tell me the correct answer very quickly. Solve the question and tell me the correct answer very quickly. Consider the following statements. The direct benefit transfer covers only the cash-based subsidy schemes. The conditional cash transfers are always universal in coverage. PM Kisan is an example of conditional cash transfer. Most of you have chosen option D. 2 of you have chosen option A. Lakshmi says option B. Please check. Please check. Let's start. The first statement, incorrect. DBT was introduced back in the year 2013 and later it has been expanded to cover more than 300 schemes. Now these particular 300 schemes can be schemes which are providing the goods or services directly at subsidized prices, or will cover the schemes where the subsidy will be transferred into the account of the beneficiary or into the hands of the beneficiary. Right? So cash based and kind based subsidy schemes are covered under DBT. Conditional cash transfers are always universal in nature. No guarantee. It all depends on the design of the scheme. PM Kisan is an example of conditional cash transfer. It is incorrect. I've already told you the answer to the third statement. It is incorrect. All the three statements are incorrect. Right option is option D. Now please take up the question for practicing mains answer writing. The public expenditure on unconditional cash transfers involves an opportunity cost. Elaborate. Elaborate on this particular statement. Or else, let's make it interesting. What if UPSC will give you a question like this? The subsidies are a politician's delight and an economist's nightmare. I'll repeat the question here again. What if UPSC will give you this kind of a question? The subsidies are a politician's delight and these are an economist's nightmare. Try out the answer to that particular question as well. So please practice mains answer writing. Now, here is a homework as well. Please take up this article as a homework. All you need to do is download the PPT, read this article, and please don't start commenting either in the live session or in the, let's say the recorded session, that is in the comments part. Sir, the PPT is not visible, the words are not visible. Please download and magnify. Please magnify, you will be able to see the words much more clearly. And the reason why I've given you this particular article for homework purposes is very simple. Point number 1, this article is written by V. Ananta Nageswaran. And those who know, those who follow the newspapers very regularly, they will know that V. Ananta Nageswaran is a bureaucrat. He is basically the chief economic advisor. Chief economic advisor. And here is a question from my side. The chief economic advisor works under which ministry? Let me see. The chief economic advisor functions or works under which ministry? Do let me know either right now in the chat box or in the chat section or later in the comment section. So this article automatically becomes very relevant for you. And second, this is on the deep tech policy. In recent times, there has been a lot of discussion regarding the need to promote deep tech startups in India. The government of India has announced funding for the deep techs. The government of India also has announced a new classification for deep tech startups. So in that particular context, here is an article and a question for practicing mains answer. What are the major challenges associated with evaluating deep tech startups for public funding? Discuss the recent initiatives of the government to promote the deep tech startups. Done? Okay. Now those are asking, sir, where is the PPT available? Right? Show me the PPT, etc. My dear, all you need to do is go to the description part of the video. Not now, later. Go to the description part of the video. There is a link that is provided for downloading the PDF. Click on it or hit on it. Go to the CNA box or CNA tab. There all the PPTs of the CNAs have been uploaded. And second very important point, from the last week, I've started taking special classes, free special classes for all those aspirants who want to cover the Indian economy through Tamil Nadu board. Tamil Nadu board class 12th economics book has certain very important concepts that are required for the UPSC aspirants. So last week we have started, 3 classes are over. Yesterday was Sunday, so break. Today evening at 8:30 p.m. we are going to resume, and full this week we are going to cover the topics. So today's class will be on the functions of Reserve Bank of India. The link for the special class is posted in the description box. Click on it, register, and the remaining classes links you'll be able to get access by clicking on the SEO page, the link for which is also provided here. And if you want to attempt the MCQ test of class 3 special class, the link for the MCQ test is also given in the description part. Done. Again, I'm saying not on YouTube, on the website. That is Unacademy platform. Let's move forward. Next article, a common blueprint for India's industrial heat electrification. Before I tell you the important points from the article, first and foremost, the full article is not relevant. For example, you don't have to go through this particular table which is provided in the article. Just because table is there, don't run behind the table. Because the article discusses a lot of technical things that are not needed for UPSC, but for, let's say, engineers, that is a gold mine. So what are the important points? The government of India in recent times has been promoting the shift from the fossil fuels to non-fossil fuels. Correct? The government of India has been promoting the shift. In fact, the government of India, under the Paris Climate Agreement, that is the NDCs, has proposed that we want to ensure the production, adoption, usage of non-fossil fuels is going to increase, and it is going to hit 50% by 2030, which we have already met, by the way. In addition to it, it also has given certain promises to reduce intensity of emissions, etc. Now, in that particular regard, there has been a lot of reforms implemented by the government, and these particular reforms have also yielded results. Be it, for example, in the households, the way we are using electricity, there is a different, right, let's say, type of consumption that we are doing right now. For example, earlier, all of us, that is the households in India, were using incandescent bulbs. Now we have shifted to the LED bulbs. Even the street lights, we have shifted to LED bulbs. In case of vehicles, rather than being dependent on fossil fuels, we have started promoting electric vehicles. Renewable energy production, installed capacity, etc. has increased in the last 1 decade itself. So there have been expected, or these have yielded results which are satisfactory. Although more needs to be done, by the way. For example, the government of India by 2030 has a renewable energy installed capacity target of 500 gigawatts. So more needs to be done. But so far, a lot of achievements have been experienced, or we have done a lot of achievements in order to move towards ensuring India is going to meet the target of zero emission by 2070. Now, in addition to this, there is one more discussion. We need to focus on one more area. Household is over, transportation we are focusing, production of electricity we are focusing. Now we need to focus on industrial heat electrification. Now question, as many of you are asking, sir, what is this industrial heat electrification? Basic idea is this. There are multiple industries which require during their day-to-day operations lot of heat. For example, be it steel production unit, be it textile production unit, for example, cement production unit. So on day-to-day basis, they consume lot of heat. Right now, the concern is we are focusing on other important areas, but we have left out this area where lot of heat that is produced, that is consumed through consumption of electricity. We need to focus on that as well. So what are the steps we need to take? Again, I'm saying a lot of technical information has been provided. You don't need to run behind it. So what needs to be done in order to ensure that even this particular area, the requirement of heat that is there, the electricity that is supplied for this, we are going to shift from using fossil fuels to non-fossil fuels. What can be done? What should be the blueprint for this? I'll basically summarize. That is basically use the following 6 steps. These are the 6 steps which have been recommended. Step number 1. From one region to another region, the industrial heat production will not be the same, will have to be studied. And from one unit to another unit. For example, cement production unit, the heat requirement in that particular unit will be different compared to a cement production unit, or compared to a textile unit, or compared to a steel unit, etc. So first and foremost, we need to understand what is the requirement of, right, let's say the heat in individual regions as well as individual individual companies like this. Sir, what is the use of it? Use is, let's imagine there is one region where there is clustering of, let's say, steel plants. So don't you think obviously we need to have a different approach to ensure sufficient electricity through non-fossil fuels will be supplied to that region compared to another region where cement units will be concentrated or clustered. So we need to have one understanding of the factory's actual heat requirements. Second one is we also need to ensure there is a right technology adoption. Because let's be honest here, from one unit to another unit of two different companies, one involved in the cement, one involved in the steel production, they will be using boilers. So the technology that we are going to use should not be the same. Should not be the same. So right adoption of technology. That is the second step. Third step, electricity must be supplied to these particular consumers, cement consumers, right, steel production units, etc. The electricity that will be supplied should be at affordable prices. Otherwise, what is going to happen? You want them to shift from the fossil fuels to non-fossil fuels. But if the cost is higher, they will always worry about their bottom line. The companies, because they are commercial enterprises, they will be focused on their profitability. So they will not shift away from the consumption of fossil to the non-fossil fuel sources. Next, we need to ensure, in order to supply to these particular units, we need to ensure the financing is affordable. In fact, in case of India, whenever there is a question about manufacturing, please remember this and you can use this point in the mains answer writing. Whenever there is a question on the manufacturing, the one concern that will be often cited will be the cost of capital in India is higher. The cost of capital, meaning what? You want to invest and set up a manufacturing unit or a renewable energy plant or let's say any other textile unit, etc. You will take a loan. You will take a loan, right? Don't ask me, sir, why will I take loan? I'll put money from my pocket. Don't do that. Businessmen don't do that. If you do that, you will face repercussions, right? Repercussion in the sense you are investing your precious money into a project which will get locked in for multiple years. Rather than that, take a loan, right? And you will get a subsidy from the government. You will get interest subvention from the government. That is the reason industrialists or the businessmen, entrepreneurs, they want to borrow. They want to take a loan. So the problem is you want to take a loan. A rate of interest is higher. And when the rate of interest is higher, obviously cost of production will be higher, right? So we need to ensure new financing tools are used, right? And the rate of interest on the, right, let's say the loans which are given are lesser, etc., etc. And in order to operate these kind of projects, there is a need to ensure that sufficient number of skilled workers are present in India. Sufficient number of skilled workers. Because very often there is a discussion associated with this. There is a problem of skilling in India. That is, there is a skill mismatch. One is number of skilled workers is always lesser compared to the demand in India. Again, I'm not talking about individual industries because I know some of you have already done PhD on semiconductors. And now you'll start pointing out, sir, you're wrong. In semiconductors, India has 20% of the global skilled workforce. How can you say there is no skilled workforce? I'm talking about overall industries in India. So there is always a skill mismatch. That is, the skills you have are not the ones that are needed in the industries. And there is also a problem of not having sufficient number of unit of workers who are skilled. So there is a need to ensure skilled workers are available in India. And finally, to cap all of it, what we need to do is start investing in R&D, start adopting technologies, ensure that the companies will shift from the fossil to the non-fossil fuel sources. But more importantly, we need to do this with implementation of a pilot project. We need to do this by implementing a pilot project. That is, a demonstration project can be implemented. The logic behind this is once there is a pilot project, the studies can be conducted regarding whether this is the most efficient method to implement the initiative. Are there any problems in terms of implementation of the initiative? So we need to focus on demonstration of this or have a pilot project, and then we can scale it up to cover all the industries. So this is basically what has been recommended in the article to shift the industrial consumption of electricity from fossil fuel based sources to the non fossil fuel based sources. And by the way, here is the second question from my side to you people today. Monday special. If you want to call it Monday special. Second question that I'm asking you. What is the total installed non-fossil fuel capacity, non-fossil fuel energy capacity in India? Do let me know. Answer to this I'll give you in some time. Now, based on the discussion that I've had, here is a question. Please take it up for mains answer writing. India's energy transition must move beyond electrification of transport and households towards industrial heat electrification. This is a question for you to practice mains answer writing. Please take it up. Now, next article. Israel rejects Donald Trump's, President of USA's peace plan. Nothing's right surprising in this. It was bound to happen. What is the important update here? There was a 15-point peace plan that was proposed by Board of Peace. That is basically Mr. Donald Trump, who will equate himself with Board of Peace. So 15-point peace plan was proposed, and on the other side, right, the other party that is involved in this particular peace plan, that is Hamas, they also had accepted the rules or the provisions of this particular treaty or the agreement. In fact, they had basically accepted the condition that they will have to lay down some of the weapons. And at that point of time itself, I told you, this is a classic situation where one party will ask other party to basically perform the function first or prove that they are committed to the agreement. So what has happened? The update is very simple. Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, who is right basically the head of the government in Israel, PM of Israel, now in a speech has criticized the 15-point peace plan. Although he has stated the president of USA is the best friend for Israel, etc., he has not accepted the 15-point peace plan. The argument of the PM of Israel is very simple. The Hamas must be completely disarmed itself. Right? And that has been one of the arguments, one of the pointers on which he has been proposing the attacks, right, in the other regions, etc., etc. So the point or the 15-point peace plan which has been proposed now basically has been rejected by the Prime Minister of Israel. Let's wait and see what is going to happen in terms of, let's say, the talks that will happen now going forward between the President of USA and the PM of Israel. Because please understand, for both of them, this is one of the very important points going forward. Why? In USA, midterm elections are going to be held in the later part of this year. And same elections are going to be held in Israel as well. And already this particular peace plan which has been proposed by the Board of Peace is very unpopular in Israel. And that was very much evident after the points were mentioned, after the peace plan was proposed and it was agreed to by USA as well as Hamas. It has become very unpopular. So obviously the Prime Minister of Israel will be worried that he is giving up too much by withdrawing the forces, right, by giving leeway to the Hamas, etc. He is worried that this might not be very, right, let's say positive in terms of, let's say, upcoming elections in Israel. And on the other hand, whatever has happened in Gaza, the role of Israel, right, the kind of the actions that have been taken in this particular region and even in Iran, etc., these have become very unpopular amongst the voters, especially the Republican voters in USA. They are against. One of the reasons why they elected Mr. Donald Trump was, in his campaign speeches, he always argued that he will not be entering into any new war. And in addition to that, wherever USA is present, the troops of USA are present outside USA, he will be recalling. But what has happened in recent times is exactly opposite. So these kind of plans are very unpopular in the USA as well. So because elections are there in USA, midterm, not presidential, midterm elections, and right, let's say the elections in Israel now, right? So let's wait and see what is going to happen in the coming days. One point is very evident: Mr. Donald Trump will not like this particular statement given by the PM of Israel, by the way. Let's see. You will get to know through the tweets, or you will get to know through, right, the post in social media what he thinks regarding the proposal now. Okay, let's move forward. Important article: water purifiers developed during Rajasthan deluge delivered to Assam. There is an entity, please remember this. It's an autonomous body which functions under the Ministry of Science, the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. Again, I'm saying it is an autonomous body. So CSIR, one of its units, that is CSIR NEERI. It stands for National Environmental Engineering Research Institute. I'll start using the short form now, CSIR NEERI. So CSIR NEERI has developed a water filter. The name of the water filter is NEERI-ZAR. Potential question in the next prelims examination. Now, hundreds of these particular water filters are supplied to Assam. Earlier also in multiple states, when the floods have taken place, these water filters have been utilized, by the way. But what is the speciality of these particular water filters? One, these do not require any kind of electricity. These do not require any kind of electricity. Second, they work on a concept of, right, let's say the gravitational pull. That is basically, you must have seen various very rudimentary water filters, normal water filters, not the current one, which will be RO plus UV, etc. That is, there will be two parts to the water filter. On the top, when you pour the water through the filter, because gravitational pull will be there, the water will be filtered across multiple layers and it will fall in the lower part, and through the tap you can extract the water. So that is basically the gravitational pull or gravitational, right, pull model that is used in filtering of these particular right, let's say water. And because in Assam there is flooding, right, lot of deaths have taken place, etc. Because there's a flooding, access to potable drinking water is a big concern. You can supply water through plastic bottles. Yes, packaged, right, drinking water you can supply. But whenever you supply these particular drinking water through bottles, one, there is a limitation in the sense, how many bottles can you dump, can you basically supply? There is a large limitation on it. Second, if you supply this water, drinking water through plastic, again, plastic is a contaminant. So there is a concern associated with this. That's the reason the NEERI-ZAR water purifiers or water filters now are being supplied to Assam. Community, right, for communities they will be supplied, for households they will be supplied. Right, so these are important points. It's a gravity-based zero energy water purifier which has been developed by NEERI. Please remember that particular point. Right, so it will purify the ambient water. Ambient water means whatever is the prevailing water or the current water from rivers, ponds, wells, by removing or by filtering certain, right, let's say bacteria, other parts or other contaminants, etc. So these are important points associated with NEERI-ZAR. Please remember this particular point. Now, based on the CSIR, here is a question. Consider the following statements regarding CSIR. I know a lot of you will oppose this kind of a question. Why? Sir, this is not there in the current affairs. But be ready for these kind of questions. Tell me, just take a guess. If you have read, answer it correctly. If not, I will give you the answer, but just take a guess till then. Consider the following statements regarding CSIR. It is a statutory body. It was established in 1942. It functions under Ministry of Electronics and Technology. What could be the correct answer? And each one of you will get only one option. Please don't type suddenly option A. After 5 seconds, option B. After 3 seconds, option C. And after 2 seconds, option D. And become basically very happy because one of the option that you have chosen is correct. Okay, let's start. It is a statutory body. Incorrect. It is not a statutory body. It has been set up as a society, registered as a society, by the way, right, back in the year 1942. So first statement is incorrect. It was established in 1942. Correct. It functions under the Ministry of Electronics. Incorrect. It functions under the Ministry of Science. So of three statements, only one of the statement or one statement is correct. Right option will be option A. So please be ready for these kind of questions in the prelims examination as well. I'm making you prepare then. Okay, so let's start. Next article, NRTS. NRTS stands for Nurses Registration and Tracking System. Now, NRTS basically is a platform that has been developed by two entities which are involved in this. One is National Informatics Center and the second one is INC. INC and NIC, right? That is Indian Nursing Council. And what is the importance of this platform and why it is there in the current affairs? 2 points. It was developed and implemented in order to ensure that there is a registry which maintains the details of all the nurses working at different levels in India. Very simple. You need to ensure that there is a database. Database of what? Database of all the nurses who are working. So that this is a single point of contact if you want to get any kind of information. That is, if the government wants any kind of information. In addition to this, if the people who are registered, who are working as nurses, who are registered, if they want to get access to certain services, for example, a certificate, a transfer certificate, or you want to show to the other country where you are shifting to for work basis that you are working as a nurse in India. So you need to get multiple certificates, multiple other services. So for all of this, this particular portal was proposed and implemented by the government. But what has happened? The article provides you, let's move on to the second part of the discussion, provides you an update. What is update? There are a total number of 46 lakh nurses working in India. 46 lakh nurses who are working in India, and out of 46 lakh, as of now, only 14 lakh, only 14 lakh of the nurses are registered on this particular platform. 46 is the total, 14 are registered, which means most of the nurses, that is more than 70% of the nurses who are working in India, their registration is not yet complete. This was very recently highlighted by a member of parliament, and they have written a letter to the government asking the government to speed up the process of registration of the nurses under this. Because if registration is not done, they cannot identify themselves. They will not have the unique card, unique health identification card. They will not be getting other services which are offered on the portal here. So there is a delay. The government has been asked to speed up the registration of the nurses on this particular registry. So this is the update. Please have a look at it. Table is there. Do not worry about the table. Don't memorize how many nurses are registered in which of the state. That is not relevant. Next, one article from Indian Express. Invasive species spawns India's first fisherman-driven. Underline this particular term. India's first fisherman-driven removal initiative. Very often in the newspapers, when you're reading about ecology and environment, you will come across invasive species. And what is generally the outcome? Whenever there is an invasive species that will enter into a new ecosystem, it will create an imbalance in the new ecosystem. It will compete with the existing species for the resources. The existing species composition will be disturbed. The numbers will start dwindling, etc., etc. So here is an article in Indian Express. There is an important point associated with this. I'll talk about it in a minute. Right, which talks about entry of invasive species such as suckermouth catfish, tilapia, and African catfish. Now, what is a suckermouth catfish? Those who have seen, right, let's say aquariums will be there, and in the aquariums you will see generally there will be one fish which would have, right, basically stuck its face or mouth to the glass side. You will try and go and try to disturb it. You do not realize they are not disturbed by you. You are disturbed looking at them. So these kind of catfishes, which are basically ornamental in nature, just for display, and in this particular, let's say, this kind of a ecosystem, that is in the aquariums, these sucker fishes or catfishes have entered into India. And when aquariums have to be cleaned, aquariums have to be thrown away, which is done by many of the households, what has happened is, instead of, let's say, throwing it away anywhere else, people or the users of aquarium have released these into a particular river. And the river that has been mentioned in this article is the Bhima River. Bhima River. And this is important for civil servants, or let's say the civil services aspirants, because I know a lot of you generally focus on the river systems which are present in the northern plains. Right? You ask tributaries of Ganga, you have memorized it, you will throw out all the tributaries. If you ask the tributaries of Narmada, you will tell all the tributaries of Narmada. You ask tributaries of Brahmaputra, starting from China, you will tell into India what are the tributaries, etc. But suddenly now there is one more tributary of Krishna River. A tributary of Krishna River, which is there in the newspaper, that is Bhima River. Please remember this. Okay. So there is a dam which has been constructed across this. It is also known as Bhima Dam or Ujjani Dam. Ujjani Dam. It is present in Maharashtra, Sholapur district. Now, what is the current affairs issue? Like I said earlier, these kind of invasive species have been released into the river. And when these are released into river, like I said, these are invasive. These will start competing with the food that is present in the river ecosystem. These have eaten away the eggs of other fishes. And not just this, these to lay eggs. In order to lay the eggs, they will follow a practice of burrowing. Burrowing means basically dig up and start laying the eggs there. As a result of burrowing activity, the sand that is present, the fertile sand that is losing out, or that is basically being dragged away by the river water now. In addition to this, the bridge which has been constructed here, the irrigation project which has been constructed on this particular river, because of the burrowing activities, the strength of this particular irrigation project is also under concern. Right? So these are some of the very important points. All of this is happening because of entry of an invasive species. So these are certain important points. Please make a note of this. Now, what is the solution to this? You know the problem. So what is the solution? For the first time in India, the Bombay Natural History Society, BNHS, has introduced a community-driven project. Community-driven project. What is this idea of a community-driven project here? The fishers, more than 20 fishers are present in this particular region, and they are dependent on the economic activity of fishing. And because the catfish population has increased, the presence of other types of fishes which are generally fished and sold in the market, the population of that has abruptly fallen down. Right? And that has a negative impact on the income potential of the fishermen in the region. And those who are wondering, sir, in that case, why are we not consuming catfish? Catfish is generally not consumed in India. Right? It is not used for consumption purposes. So what has been proposed and implemented in this? In the market, that is in the fish market, BNHS has proposed to purchase the catfish by paying higher prices to the fishermen. The whole idea is the catfish population in this particular river ecosystem should be reduced, so that other fishes population will start to thrive, will start to increase. And this is going to provide the income stability for the fishermen in the region, which I told you are more than 20,000. So they have implemented this particular policy, that is India's first community-driven suckermouth catfish collection center at Bhigwan Fish Market. Potential question for the next prelims. And so far, more than 36 tons of the suckermouth catfish have been removed from the river. Right? And another very important point, suckermouth catfish is a native of Amazon River in South America. And locally, these are also called as helicopter fish. All these are important points. I know, very niche points, but important points. Locally, these are also known as helicopter fish because of their kind of activity. And so these are the important points associated with the invasive species here. Please make a note. Now, I told you there is one more very important point. Right? First, to solve the question, I'll tell you the important point. Consider the following statements. Which of the above two statements is or are correct? Ujjaini wetland is part of Ramsar sites in India. This is a point I wanted to make. Whether this is correct or not, you tell me. Ujjaini wetland is a part of Ramsar sites in India. Bhima river is a tributary of Krishna river. Right? What is the correct answer? Atesha says option C. Barkat says option B. Lakshmi says option B. Anushka Singh option B. Rajesh Kumar option A. So A is over, B is over, C is over. Any takers for option D? Any takers for option D? Let's solve it. Ujjaini wetland is a part of Ramsar sites in India? Incorrect. Incorrect. It is not a part of Ramsar sites in India. Bhima river is a tributary of Krishna river. Yes, this is correct. I've already told you the answer. Right, Bhima river is a tributary of Krishna river. Right option for this question will be option B. Only second statement is correct. Next, one more update regarding theatre command. Center says, report on theatre commands under consideration. Now, what is the side of a theatre command, especially for a newcomer? Theatre basically refers to a region. Don't assume theatre means they are talking about PVR. They are talking about, right, let's say Inox. They are talking about that theatre, this theatre. No, they are not talking about the movie theatre. They're basically talking about the region where military operations are generally conducted. That is the front. On one side we have China, on the other side we have Pakistan. So there are different fronts on which operations will be conducted. So these are generally referred to as theatre. Now in case of India, historically what has been seen is there are multiple types of armed forces. We have army, we have navy, we have air force. Now over a period of time, different strategies have been developed by these particular, let's say armed forces. And because the different strategies are there, it becomes very difficult for coordination and cooperation. That is to ensure that all of them are on the same page whenever, let's say, operation has to be conducted. So to address this, we want to ensure that there is a theatre command which is unified, integrated theatre command. That is ensure that there is already a system which has been put in place, not just involving, I repeat, not just involving army, navy and air force. Because in today's situation, the warfare is not just associated with arms and weapons. There is adoption of technology. There is a need to have communications with the satellites, etc. So there are a lot of other areas or the stakeholders that need to be involved to ensure that there is an integrated command theatre and there is, let's say a rank and file. There is a sequence of the measures or the operations to be conducted. So in regards to this, there is a proposal which has been put forward and the government of India simply says, this report on theatre commands is being considered as of now. It is not being implemented. The theatre commands report is being looked into. Let's wait and see what is going to be done by the government in the coming days. Now, before I go forward, just for sake of testing you people, I don't think so UPSC is going to ask you this question. Let me check how many of you are aware of your surroundings. What is the correct answer to this? India will celebrate which Independence Day on 15th August 2026? Do let me know. India will celebrate which Independence Day on 15th August? Don't check Google. Without checking Google, tell me the answer. Is it 78th, 79th, 80th or 81st? And if you have checked Google, you lost. You already lost the bet, by the way. I just want to check and don't expect these kind of questions. I know that. Later, don't tell me, sir, how dare you ask this kind of question? UPSC will never ask. You never know, first and foremost. And if it is asked, hit a sixer. Hit a sixer if this kind of question is asked. So, India will be celebrating 80th Independence Day on 15th August 2026. Now, some of you might be thinking, sir, why have you asked this question? Two reasons. First reason, if you have joined in the beginning of the session, I said, Unacademy is running an offer now. 16,999. And if you enroll 80 winners, their fees will be refunded. That is the reason, that is India is celebrating 80th Independence Day. This is the reason 80 of the subscribers, their fees will be refunded. And second reason why I have taken up this article is because of this article in today's Indian Express. Crafts from 4 states adorn presidents at home in white. Very much a potential question. For next prelims examination, very much a potential question, by the way. Now, what are the important points you need to remember? Right? Please download the PPT. That's the reason I'm saying, please download the PPT. I've done the compilation. I've done the work for you already. All you need to do is simply download and memorize all of it. Memorize it, because all of this is factual information. Concepts are not there. Factual information. The heritage and traditions of 4 states in the upcoming Independence Day event at the President's Bhavan. Basically, the invite has been sent. In addition to the invite, now what kind of food prepared, or food preparations will happen? All of this is a potential question for the UPSC prelims examination. So for the upcoming Independence Day celebrations, regarding the invite bag, what are the important points? I'll show you. And regarding the food preparations, basically the food as well as the invite bag will represent the traditions, the culture, the kind of conservation, let's say measures that have been undertaken by the 4 states. And these are Maharashtra, Goa, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. These are the 4 states. For example, in case of food, the food preparations, will be patolio, This is basically a kind of sweet that is made in the households in Goa. Those who visited Goa, they will know this, and those who are staying in Goa, do let me know. And moreover, please understand this. This kind of a preparation where you use jaggery, you use rice, etc. This is kind of a preparation which is present in many of the other states as well. In fact, in my house also, I've prepared multiple times a variation of this. Some of the people from Goa will be offended. Not the original one, but our version. Anyways, so patolio from Konkan region, this is one sweet. Second will be Manifarra, from Chhattisgarh. Khamang Kakdi from Maharashtra. And Jabalpur's Gatpat. Gatpat is basically a chaat. So these are the 4 foods that will be prepared on the day of independence at this particular function. Now, I'm not saying UPSC will ask you this, potential question. Potential question, and because this was mentioned in the newspaper, I said, let me give you this information to all of you. Regarding the invite bag, this is the invite bag which has been sent to more than 650 invitees. More than 650 people have been asked to be present or have been invited to participate on this particular day of celebration. Everybody can see this is basically the bag that has been sent to them by the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now, regarding the invite bag, what are the important points you need to make a note of? It has been designed by National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. Remember this point, National Institute of Design at Ahmedabad. Its cover is inspired by Kavi art of the coastal Konkan region. This is the cover. A wrought iron bell is attached to the address slip. This is what they're talking about, which has been handcrafted by tribal ironsmiths at Bastar using recycled scrap iron. It contains hand-woven Maheshwari stole, stole. That is basically a covering. Stole that will be used to welcome the guest. This is also important. Please make a note. And it also includes a frame featuring figurines. There was one more picture. I thought, too many pictures will be, it will become too many pictures. I have not put that, by the way. So it will also have a figurines which is handcrafted by Lav Shilp or Pitwa art. It is basically a tribal craft from Bastar. So it is very well known kind of a art culture, very well known for recycling the old scrap metal. So all these are the important points. Please make a note of this. Download the PPT. You don't have to write it down and memorize these particular points. Again, I'm saying it is factual. Now, what UPSC might do is they might branch out. Branch out in the sense, instead of asking you directly on, let's say the invite back, they might ask you on Law Shilp or Pitwa art. They might ask you individually a question on it. So please be ready for all these kind of questions in the next prelims examination. Now let's move on to the next article. Everybody is okay so far? Ladakh to lead independent India's first caste census. Nothing to discuss here, just factual information. Second phase of population census is basically the caste census, and it will be started first from Ladakh. This is point number 1. Point number 2, this particular census is also known to be India's first digital census, where you can provide all the information to basically complete the census activity online itself, digital census. But the speciality of this particular population census, which will be conducted at Ladakh, will be that instead of collecting all the data through the digital tools, they've also gotten the forms printed. And what is the benefit, or what is the logic behind it? They're worried that when they use these particular technological tools in this particular region, which is very sensitive, national security wise, very sensitive for us, right? The coordinates, if it is filled through a digital tool, it can be leaked, right? And there are a lot of defense installations which are present in the region, etc. So in order to ensure that national security is given the primacy here, the paper printouts of these particular forms have been taken. That's a second important point. Third important point, the caste census. The caste census, where you will have to provide the caste. Earlier we had a discussion regarding this. We will continue to have basically a basically an open column concept. Open column concept instead of having a drawdown model. What is the basic idea? Again, it's a repetition. There will be a column. You need to provide information regarding to which caste you belong. It has been tried out earlier. It has been said to be very inefficient method because lot of people do not provide correct information. Lot of people will write their address in that. Lot of people will make a spelling mistake, because of which earlier when it was conducted, we had lakhs of caste data that was collected because of open column concept. Anyways, so these are 3 very important points associated with the article. Nothing else is relevant. Don't spend too much of time in this. Next, again, one more article, factual data. There is a photo that has been given in today's Hindu newspaper. Cultural showcase. There is a picture which has been provided of let's say the indigenous population performing certain dance type. This is because, please understand, August 9th or 9th August internationally is celebrated or observed as World's Indigenous Peoples Day. World's Indigenous Peoples Day. Please make a note of this. In the last couple of days, when I've taken CNA, this is the second time I'm giving you a data point regarding observing an international day, right? Potential for prelims examination. So why do we celebrate or why do we observe the World's Indigenous Population Day? It is to commemorate the first meeting of UN Working Group on Indigenous Population, which was conducted back in the year 1982. And that is the reason on 9th August, this day is observed. In addition to this, when this particular International Indigenous Day was let's say adopted by the United Nations, it was adopted in the year 1994. It was adopted in the year 1994. Done? Okay. Tushar Deshmukh says, sir, please upload PPT. Okay, I'll ask the backend team to look into it and ensure that the PPTs are uploaded on time. Don't worry, I'll convey your message. Now here is a question. Answer to this question, then I'll give you the information. Here is a question. I want you people to answer first. Right? Let me know what is the correct answer, then I'll give you the information from Press Information Bureau. Arrange the following in increasing order of their installed capacity: wind, solar, nuclear, and biomass or biopower. What is the correct answer? Avantika Pandey, yes, my dear. That's a type of food. What is the correct answer? Nobody wants to give it an attempt? Vinayak says option D. Atesha, option D. All of you have chosen option D. Why? All of you have used ChatGPT? Okay, finally. Barkat, option A. Vishnuvardhan, okay, option B. My favorite actor, one of my favorite actors, by the way. Okay, Vishnuvardhan, option B. Okay, so wind, solar, nuclear, biopower. Sir, what is the reason you've asked a question? Here is an article from PIB. Right? Non-fossil fuels, India achieves a landmark of 300 gigawatts non-fossil fuel power capacity. Right? This is basically the update from the PIB. Please make a note of it. And again, I'm not saying this is going to remain constant. What will happen in the next 1 year? Just before you write prelims examination, make a note of this as well. Generally, the PIB will come up with these kind of articles. In a major milestone, the government of India has given this particular information that the total installed capacity of non-fossil fuels, and those right who do not focus carefully, please focus carefully here. They're not using the word renewable energy. They're using the term non-fossil fuel. For example, this is done in order to cover renewable and right beyond renewable. For example, nuclear energy. Right, so total installed capacity for non-renewable energy sources has crossed more than 300 gigawatts. And total installed capacity in case of India is how much? 552 gigawatts. Right, so 552 gigawatts is total installed capacity. Out of that, more than 300 is non-fossil fuel sources. And when you arrange them in increasing order, right, basically first, the options that I've given, based on that I'm telling you, the first will be nuclear power. This should not be very difficult because of Shanti bill, which has been there in the discussion for last 3 months. So nuclear, followed by that biomass, followed by that there is a wind power, and followed by that highest is solar power. So the right option for the question given here will be option D, and this is an update from Press Information Bureau. Done? One more article, last article by the way, before you start commenting, sir, how long? Finish the discussion very soon, etc. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. PMAY urban milestone. The word urban milestone is written. That's the reason I've taken the article. 1.25 crore houses have been sanctioned, 1 crore delivered, and it has helped in women empowerment by ensuring 1 crore beneficiaries or 1 crore households are allocated to women. Now, what is this idea? Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, PMAY, has two components. One is the urban component and the second one is the rural component. The urban component was implemented back in the year 2015. Rural component was implemented back in the year 2016. Urban is implemented by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Rural is implemented by Ministry of Rural Development. Objective is very simple. Identify the beneficiaries, ensure the beneficiaries, for example, coming from low income group, the beneficiaries which do not have pakka house, the beneficiaries which belong to economically weaker section, ensure that the housing assistance is provided and the houses are delivered to the beneficiaries. In addition to this, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana 2.0, urban component I'm focused here, PMAY 2.0 has been launched by the government back in the year 2024. Remember this, PMAY Urban 2.0 was launched back in the year 2025, and it has a target of ensuring 1 crore urban families are covered and provided with housing under PMAY. One more very important point can be asked in the prelims examination. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana follows a model of convergence. Please remember this particular term. PMAY follows a model of convergence, or it follows convergence approach. What do I mean by convergence approach? If these are the houses which do not have pakka houses, or families which do not have a pakka house, obviously a lot of them will not have electricity connection. A lot of them may not have, right, let's say the educational coverage. A lot of them may not have, right, let's say working toilets, etc., or LPG connections for that matter. So government of India under the PMAY follows the convergence approach, which means the beneficiaries under this, we will try and ensure that the beneficiaries will also be covered under the Ujjwala Yojana. The beneficiaries will be covered under Electrification Yojana. The beneficiaries will also be covered and provided with functioning toilets, etc. That is under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Yojana. So these are certain very important points in the context of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Done? Okay, right. So these are the important articles, the concepts, questions and counter questions, right, that I wanted to discuss with you people in today's session. I've asked you 2 questions, by the way. Those who are present, some of you have answered in the chat section. Others, please do check out. using Google. And those who are going to watch the recorded session, do let me know the answer to the 2 questions in the comment section. If you have liked the discussion, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, subscribe to it right now. Any questions, do let me know. I'll address it and then we will close the session. Where I'll get the PDF, my dear, the link is there in the description part. There is a label for that as well. Download the PDF or download PDF link like this. It is there in the description part. Theater command. Theater command basically means right now we have different armed forces and they will have different strategies. Rather than treating all these particular armed forces individually, we want to have one policy wherein all these armed forces, right, they will be available in the sense, right, integration of the strategies along with many other stakeholders. That is integrated theater. Okay. Any other question? What is 14 points of Donald Trump? My dear, 14 points you don't have to remember. Suresh and Tushar, my dear, like I said, I will convey the message to the backend team to ensure that it will be uploaded on time. Don't panic. Done then. That's it. Take care. See you all next time. And those who are finding economy difficult, like I told you already, today evening, right, and this week evening, all the week, right, this week we will be having special classes at 8:30 p.m. The link for the special classes along with the MCQ test, etc. is given in the description. Register for the class, hit on the notify button so that once I start the class at 8:30 p.m., you will be notified. See you all in the special classes. Take care. Have a great day.